Good evening. This is The Point of View. We're live on CCTV every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. Here on The Point of View, we bring you the right guests. We ask them relevant questions, and we always come up with some useful insights. And tonight we have a very exciting show for you, probably unprecedented. We have two men who are aspiring to lead the largest opposition party in the country. It's been a very heady week for the political party, so I'm going to be chatting to them about their campaign, their views about where their party is, the latest development in relation to the filing fee and the filing date, whether the process is fair or not, and how the NDC can reinvent itself to make itself a winnable political party for Ghana. So that's the agenda. It's an interactive program. Our hashtag is Point of View. We're on Facebook at CCTVGH. There's a long conversation that usually happens on our Facebook stream. You can get in touch there. We'll read them as well. And we also have a WhatsApp number you can get in touch. My name is Benadavle. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So what I typically would do before even introducing my guest is to run you through some of the news items that the NDC has made. I think in the past month, or probably 3 weeks, NDC has been in the news for a lot of reasons. They went to Congress, elected new national executives led by Ofosu-Ampofo and General Mosquito. Then the new executives, the NEC, came up with the rules for electing their flag bearer. So the story that came to mind, NDC to elect flag bearer on January 19. Filing fee is 400,000 Ghana cedis. That led to a barrage of stories. For example, same day, there's a story on citynewsroom.com. 400,000 filing fee high, but it won't stop campaign team. This is Alabi. And then same day, 400,000 filing fee for presidential aspirants, not outrageous. This is General Mosquito. Then for Mohammed's camp, we are counting on people's support to raise the 400K. And then we will petition for downward review of 400K. That was Alabi again. And then the stories kept coming in. Within that same week, 400,000 K filing fee. We are open for review. This is Akamba. He spoke on Eyewitness News on City. And then presidential aspirants, Bagbane Spio slice, others petition NDC Council of Elders over filing fee. And then 96 NDC MPs raised over 600,000 for Mahama, according to Ras Mubarak. Then Babin to quit race if filing fee nomination fee remains. Then Dade Kotopon NDC to pay 20,000 for Sly's nomination form. Stories kept coming in. Bagbane Sly and Atubiga pick nomination form for NDC presidential race. And then we had a very interesting twist. Spio-Guzi, Tano, and 3 others failed to pick nomination. And then the latest, Council of Elders proposes 300K as filing fee after petition. And then extend picking of nomination form to December 8th, NDC Council of Elders proposes. So today, there's been a significant development. Fred Tete Jabano went to the NDC head office and came through with this summary of the latest development as far as this saga is concerned.
The Council of Elders of the party today met with the Functional Executive Committee of the party. The Functional Executive Committee of the party consists of the General Secretary, the Chairman, the National Organizer, the Youth Organizer, and their deputies. This meeting came up as a result of a petition by 9 presidential aspirants who petitioned the Council of Elders over the 420,000 fees set by the National Executive Council of the party for people who intend to contest as flag bearer of the party. They were unhappy about this particular amount because, according to them, it was too much and they needed it to be reduced. Today at the meeting, we are told that the Council of Elders made a proposal, and as part of their proposals, they asked that the 420,000 cedis be reduced to 320,000. This is 100,000 different from the original figure. They also are asking that the time for nomination is extended. The nomination period expired yesterday, but the Council of Elders is saying that it should be extended to Saturday, whilst the election proper the election of flag bearer should be moved from the 19th of January 2019 to the 28th of January 2019. These are all proposals the Council of Elders made to the Functional Executive Council of the party. What is going to take place is that the next of the party, which is the second highest decision-making body of the party, would have to meet to consider this proposal made by the Council of Elders. If they accept it, it becomes binding. If they do not, it means that the party will still go with the original plan for the elections. We are not clear as to when this meeting will take place, but looking at the tight schedule for the election, we are hoping that the party would have this particular election or this particular meeting held somewhere tomorrow.
So that was Fred Jabanot with a summary. So I have in front of me the release that was signed by the General Secretary. I'm just going to read a few portions and then I'll introduce my guests. So the Functional Executive Committee of NDC acts on behalf of the NEC and upon advice from the Council of Elders has reviewed the guidelines for the presidential primaries as follows. 1, that Section 9 of the guidelines be amended to read 1, each contestant shall pay a non-refundable filing fee of 300,000 Ghana cedis. So that's down by 100,000. 2, female contestants shall pay 150,000 Ghana cedis, which is half of the amount the men would pay, while persons with disability will pay an amount of 100,000 cedis. 2, the timetable is revised as follows. Picking of nomination forms by aspirants who petition the Council of Elders is hereby extended to Saturday, 8th December 2018, excluding Friday, 7th December, which is a national holiday. Then it gives a list of dates. The following days shall apply. Filing of nomination, 17th to 18th December. So that's 10 days after picking the forms, right? Vetting, 21st and 22nd December. Balloting, 22nd December. Appeals, 22nd to 24th. That suggests that if somebody is disqualified, they will be appeal. And then consequently, the new date for primaries is now Saturday, 26th January, and no longer 19th. And then they conclude by saying, for the avoidance of doubt, all other provisions of the guidelines remain unchanged. These decisions will be communicated to the Council of Elders, who will be meeting the petitioners tomorrow, 6th December 2018, to convey the decision herein. FEC wishes to use this opportunity to reassure all aspirants of a level playing field to ensure that the outcome of the elections shall reflect the true wishes and aspirations of the entire membership of the NDC. Signed, Johnson Asiru Nketia. So this is where we are with what is fast becoming a developing story. So if you listen to our news on radio, every hour we have an NDC story because it's such a fast developing story. So in studio I have, I'll be having 2 of the aspirants. One picked his nomination from, at least people picked on his behalf when it was 20,000. It hasn't changed. The other didn't manage to pick. So I'll start with Sylvester. Is it Adinam or Adinam? It's
Adinam.
Adinam.
Yes.
Adinam.
Adinam. Mau Adinam.
He will come through for you.
Exactly so.
Sylvester Adinam Mensah.
Yeah.
Affectionately known as Sly. It's good to have you. How are you?
Great. My pleasure to be here. Always ready to have a chat with you.
How rigorous is this campaign?
Very, very tough campaign, and it requires clinical approach, meeting individuals and groups, and listening to them, talking to them, getting responses and reactions. It's been quite interesting, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
NDC has been in the news, I won't say positively throughout, but since Congress, almost every day there's an NDC news story. Is that good for the party?
Oh, I guess so. We are in very difficult times. A party in opposition trying to regroup and reposition itself, particularly at a time when it's also confronted with competitive elections from the branch level through to national, and then working towards election of its flag bearer. Naturally, one would expect that the state, their choices and preferences, as it were, emerge. And so what is happening is fairly normal. It is not strange. I didn't expect anything different at this time, not because I'm contesting myself, but I think that This is how it would go on a very normal
So what
way.
have you been telling delegates? And viewers will be showing you some of the photos of Sly's campaign. I've seen you in various parts of the country with reasonable crowds.
Yeah, large crowds.
My producers will show where you've been. They will determine whether it's large or not. So what have you been telling them?
Well, just trying to get them to understand why we lost the elections. It is important to understand why we lost the elections, and also get to understand what we can do, as it were, to reposition the party for the 2020 elections.
Hold on, who are these people? I'm sort of doing like a photo run. Some of the crowds look decent. Who are these people?
These are branch executives from one of the constituencies in the Volta region. Yes.
Wow. Branch executives. And they came to listen to Sly.
Yeah, these are all branch executives.
And where is this one?
That's the former MP seated there.
Okay, Whole West.
No, there's no Whole West.
On your left?
On my right, the former MP, Mrs. Azuma.
Yeah, that's Whole East. It's now Agoti Meziope.
Okay, yeah.
Because I covered it as a journalist, so I know. Agoti Mekpeto and those kinds of areas.
Right.
So she sat there. Is she endorsing you?
Well, she was in the meeting. The meeting was held in her premises. She offered her premises for the meeting.
Okay.
We needed a very large space for the meeting, and she willingly offered her premises, and so she's there as the host.
Of course, viewers, we also have pictures of Spio, so when we start talking to him, we'll show some of his campaigns. So this is, we are not screening for anybody. So when you meet these people, they know you are coming to campaign.
Oh, yes.
They come and listen to your message.
Of course.
What do they tell you?
What do they tell me? They endorse me. They support my candidature. They enroll into my message. I am winning the flag bearer elections.
How different are these people from the guys who came to the trade fair? Because I was at the trade fair for 2 days, and I saw people who were also some executives or leaders at the various grassroots. When President Mahama came, they were so excited. They were shouting and jumping and screaming. So I got the impression a lot of those people liked him.
Yeah, we had a delegates elections for the National Congress, which did not include the branches. And so you had delegates from the constituency level upwards, together with former MPs, former ministers, former DCs, former council members, and a host of others. And that was around a little lower than 8,500. But for the branch level, we have in excess of 261,000 branch executives. You know, we have over 29,000 polling stations across the country, and our branches are coterminous with the polling station area, and we have 9 delegates coming from each branch.
And each person has 1 vote.
And each person has a vote.
So the electoral college for 26th, if everything goes through, will be how many people?
About 270,000, no, nothing less.
Has this been set forth already?
Oh yes, it's clear.
We are clear with this.
Yes,
at this point, let me introduce Dr. Spio-Garbrah as well. Doc, it's great to have you. Good evening.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I'm very lucky to have had you twice in less than 3 months.
Wow.
It means I must be doing something right.
I hope I'm doing something right too.
How are you doing?
God is good. I'm well.
The last time somebody said God is good, he said it 3 times, but that's a different issue. So I'm sort of trying to get a sense of your campaign before we get into the right issue. So where have you been in the campaign, and what have you been telling people? And producers will put some of your visits on the screen as well.
I had an opportunity to go around most of the regions of the country, but in the most recent months, my campaign has been in the central to northern part of the Volta region, a few constituencies in the southern part, some constituencies in the central region, in Greater Accra, in Ashanti, and in Eastern. I expect to spend more time in the central and western regions again in the coming weeks, and of course the northern regions, which I visited sometime much earlier, but which I need to go back again to. So
for a politician like you, there's no constituency in Ghana you haven't been to?
And well, in the course of my life, I've been to every constituency.
Every constituency?
Well, you may remember that...
All 275?
Yes, this is not the first time I'm running a presidential flag bearership race. So,
and you go by road all the time?
I wish I had a helicopter. But yeah, you have to go by road. I mean, that's the only way.
With
And it helps you to know the state of the country,
with the team of
the
how many
infrastructure.
people do you go with?
Well, it depends on the location and the nature of the event, but usually about 7 to 8 people. Others join us in the region. I mean,
And when you get to a constituency, you spend on average
2 vehicles.
how much time?
Well, I tend to spend a little bit more time than I suppose most people. I usually speak for almost up to an hour, between 45 minutes to an hour, and then allow the delegates to also ask questions for about 30 minutes.
So we are showing you some of Spio's. Where is this?
I suspect this must be Spio-Garbrah, which was
Okay.
an outdoor event.
So they
One
came
of the
out-
challenges facing our party that we don't have constituency offices, we don't have branch offices. You can see in some very
So they meet in makeshift.
outdoors. I mean, it could have rained on everybody.
They just gather chairs and Spio is in, so let's hear him talk.
Well, in many parts of the country, you use old school buildings, you use old churches. As Mr. Mensah said, you may get an offer from a friendly leading party member who has a backyard or a terrace that you can use. So it's a challenge for the party members themselves. even when
And
they
these
don't
guys
have-
are also executives or just members?
These are all constituency and branch executives. Everybody
Constituency and branch executives.
Every delegate must be either a national, regional, constituency or branch delegate. Otherwise, you'll be talking to the wrong people and wasting lots of time and money.
Are they invited or you just hear you are in?
They are invited.
They are invited as
the
Spio
constituency organizer or secretary will be informed that you want to come to that area. They agree to receive you. You work out the time and the place, and then they do the invitations to their own members.
Then
That Mr. Mensah is coming today, Mr. Bagbin is coming tomorrow, Spio-Garbrah is coming this day, Mr. Mahama is coming, and so that's their responsibility to organize these events for us.
So for those of us who are not in the party, we tend to think that those who came to trade fair represent what the party wants. But both of you seem to be saying that there are so many more people in NDC who didn't even come to the trade
It's
fair.
one hierarchy of the party.
Okay.
And secondly, it's possible, I'm sure if you ask Mr. Mensah, that if you had asked him to speak, a certain portion of the congregation would have responded to his statement. If you had asked me to speak, or Bagbin, or some other aspirant to speak, we all have our different degrees and levels of support. And secondly, the fact that somebody is getting a rousing review or rousing welcome in a sports or entertainment or political field does not necessarily always translate to votes. And that's why I think one of our famous MPP friends coined the phrase fear delegates. Fear delegates. If our delegates are used to, cheering Mr. Mensah, cheering me, cheering Bagbin, cheering whoever comes.
But people say that
for the sake of the
outcome
interaction
of the Congress, in terms of people who won, points to people who were supposedly favorable to President Mahama. Generally.
If they themselves had
there are
said
people who say
before the elections that they were for Mr. Mahama, then one might draw that conclusion. But as you know, many of them unfortunately have now become national executives, and it's now causing a problem for them because they may not have realized the neutrality that they ought to have been exhibiting if your aim was to become a national executive, and you are now, by virtue of that position, going to be part of the electoral supervisory process, and therefore you're expected to be neutral in your utterances. Now some of the statements may come to bite a couple of people in the backside.
Slava, I read the petition that you sent to the Council of Elders, which both of you, and you were very clear about bias. There was a whole subsection on bias of the neck. Can you explain why you feel so strongly that they are biased against the rest of you except one person?
Well, I mean, it's quite clear, quite obvious, starting from the National Congress, where the former president, who is also a flag bearer, was given...
Aspirant.
Well, also a flag bearer aspirant, was given the opportunity to address both the opening and closing session. Of course, addressing the opening session will not create much difficulty, and it's quite normal. But again, to give him another opportunity for the closing session, and not only that, but to launch his campaign song at the closing ceremony for all aspirants present to dance and sing to his song, was rather
unfair.
It was provocative, it was insulting, it was unethical, it was wrong, it was not on.
But was that process managed by the new executives? Because there was a committee organizing the program. So the new executives were just shown to have won, but they were not the organizers, were they?
I mean, some of the key members of the old executive are now in the helm of affairs. They were all present. We can't absorb any single one of them because they were present in there. And if I were in a position to deal with the situation, I would have just mounted the days and indicated that, look, this is wrong, this is not on, you need to stop this, it is not ethical. We're in a competition. Unfortunately, the former president has decided to become an aspirant, and so this is unfair, and I would have stopped it. But of course, you found almost everyone dancing to the tune, which meant that there was either a culture of fear crippling into the party, or perhaps some inertia and lack of concern, but a lot more of mischief and trying to create an advantage for one candidate. But of course, these have happened. We have over, besides, for most of them who were at the background, they were quite unhappy. So did you feel that,
the example you cite for the bias is specific at the Congress, but did your statement also seem to suggest that the bias is also manifesting itself in the rules? Because I just read the change in some of the sections of the guidelines. Is the feeling that this bias is not just what happened with the unfair speeches and all these things, but that the way they are proceeding is also aimed at supporting one person?
Yeah, you know, before the Congress, we are aware that the Council of Elders and the NEC had proposed that the election of flag bearer for the NDC should be the period for election the flag bearer of the NDC, which our constitution provided to be 24 months before the elections be reviewed. Okay. And so that was amended to 21 months instead of 24. The assumption is that 3 months had been added because of the delays in organizing the branch elections, the delays in organizing the constituency elections. Almost all the levels of elections had to be postponed or shifted forward for one reason or the other. And so that naturally had effect on the supposed 7th December as stipulated in our constitution. And so in the wisdom of the party, 3 more months was added. And one would have thought that any month between February and March.
So 3 months to December 7th. So January 7th, February 7th, March 7th.
Yes, that would have ended on 7th of March.
And then you heard they would do 19th January.
Yeah, and then before that meeting, there had been rumor that one candidate is advocating for an early primaries and was pushing hard to even have it in December. Wow. And that the executives were being spoken to acquiesce for that matter. And some of us thought that cannot be the case. I mean, if Congress in its wisdom had decided to give us 3 more months, why wouldn't you utilize 2 months? Why wouldn't you even go to the last end, 7th March? And so one would have expected any time between the middle of February through to the 7th of March. Then all of a sudden we are stampeded with a picking of nomination forms with high fees and all that. So clearly you don't have the evidence to hold, because these come in the form of rumor, it comes in the form of
so let me try and understand
gossips, and so you get to know that this is what is happening, and you get to hear this even from regional chairmen telling you that, look, this is what is happening. There are people pushing to have this thing earlier than later, and it is in so-and-so's interest, and so-and-so is the one pushing. And then you get stampeded with this deadline. I mean, what else would you assume?
So let me come back to
perception. And so these perceptions are born out of real situations, out of reality.
Doc, you've been campaigning for quite a while now. So I'm not a member. One would have assumed that irrespective of when the Congress is held, you should be ready. And in fact, the longer it takes to hold, the more attrition and the more resources you spend. But how come you also seem to agree that putting the Congress earlier inures to the advantage of one person?
Well, let's look at it this way. When the national executives were fixing their own timetable for picking up nomination forms and going around the country, 275 constituencies, 10 regions, to get proposers and endorsers. My understanding is that they took about 6 weeks to do that, but they were offering us 10 days. 10 days to go to 10 regions, to go to 275 constituencies and get signatories to support your nomination forms and your candidacy. And I've said on some other programs that you need to have a helicopter. I think you asked me about that earlier. Yeah. Or a private jet.
You need about 5 people per constituency, right? 5? 2. 2 per constituency.
2 per constituency, but you need other, proposers and endorsers nationwide to help fill out all the nomination forms. So that's one of the elements that imposes an onerous responsibility on the candidates. Then, of course, on the issue of filing fees, our view was that if you're going to charge branch executives 5 cedis to be a branch chairman, constituency executives 500 cedis to be a constituency chairman, regional executives 5,000 cedis to be a regional chairman, and a national executives 10,000 to be a national chairman. If the party needed money, and that was fundraising, that was its principal goal, they could have asked, let's say, branch executives to pay 10 cedis.
So that we double everybody's.
Because branch executives today are businessmen, they are doctors, they are dentists, they are lawyers, they are all kinds of very, high, not necessarily high paying, but moderately income earning people for whom 10 cedis would not have been asking too much. But somehow they kept all these figures relatively low for all those levels of the party where the majority of people are. These 270,000 people are all at that.
It's a broader base.
It's a broader base. You could have raised more money from that 270,000 people. Or who came to the Congress, then constituency executives, about 8,000 to 9,000 of them. If you ask them to pay 500 cedis for a chairman, you could have asked them to pay 1,000. And that also would have raised a little bit more money. Then when you set your fees for yourself, the national executive set their own fees, by the way. So they set 8,000 for the general secretary and 10,000 for the chairman. So if you see the gradient of 5 cedis, 500, 5,000, 10,000, and all of a sudden the fees took off like a rocket going to, a North Korean rocket going to
Mars.
Anti-ballistic missile going to Mars. So this is where people say, no, come on. It's not as if we don't think the party needs money. Of course we know the party needs money. But if they were to ask us, what are some of your ideas for fundraising for the party? We'll give them plenty of ideas. So we are certain that the issue is not the party needing money, and then loading all that responsibility on flag-bearer aspirants to the point where many people then speculate that if you make people either look for the money, prepare by stealing the money or doing all kinds of things in order to be prepared for such races, then when they get into office, they also are likely to misbehave. So we are concerned about the national ethos, the national discipline, national culture, national good governance, many of which were not being displayed throughout this whole process. So it's not just about money, it's not just about bias, it's about a lot of values that NDC stands for, the social democratic principles of the party, the need to allow ordinary people to have access to leadership in a democratic country like Ghana, and so forth.
But the other issue is about principle. It is the party's responsibility to raise funds to undertake its mandate provided in the constitution of the party. It is the party's responsibility to raise the funds.
I heard one neck person say that they give you people, if I say you people, the aspirants there, I don't say opportunity, but they sort of appeal to you to contribute to organizing this just ended Congress, and none of you gave a penny.
Well, I'll come to that later. What I'm saying is that, in principle, it is not the responsibility of the flag-bearer aspirant to fund his or her election. That responsibility rests squarely with the National Executive Committee. The National Executive Committee has a gravitas to raise funds from its pool. But you see clearly that the National Executive Committee doesn't seem to have the authority, the influence to raise the funds. And we need to understand that in greater detail. If you have a president who single-handedly appoints all ministers, all chief executives, all DCs, everything, without recourse to the party, and does that alone, party chairman sleeps at home, general secretary is at home, all he hears is that an appointment has been made or there has been a disappointment. I mean, naturally, members of the party who rise up to public office would owe allegiance to an individual. And so you now have a party that is so weak, that does not believe that 8 members and 8 elite members who have been in government would even respond to their call. And so they kind of throw up their responsibility to aspirants. And then you could see that the whole system has been turned upside down, with the system working on its hands and the leg upwards. The pool from where the party can draw resources, of course, all former ministers, all former chief executives, all appointees, including members of the party who pay dues. This is the pool. And so now you find a situation where aspirants contribute 400,000. We need this money to fund the party and go ahead. Then the pool that's supposed to fund the party now gravitates around an individual who is the paymaster, the former president, queuing. You see pictures of people who are said to be queuing in his offices, including former ministers and a whole lot of others, queuing to contribute monies to him to be able to fund the party.
The system will run, there are more people who are sort of, I won't say patronage, but essentially there are people who owe their allegiance to him. So it's very easy for them to contribute.
Exactly.
So that's not necessarily a show of fundraising prowess.
No, it is not.
But what about the question of you guys didn't contribute anything at all? It came up that there's 9 or 10 of you were given the chance to contribute or at least appeal to, and you didn't give a dime.
I wouldn't respond to that because I'm not sure that is really the case. But this is not.
You were not invited to contribute to that?
Not to my knowledge, anyway.
I don't know anything about that.
But did you contribute anything to the Congress?
I have always contributed to this, to my party. And
directly for the Congress, not just the party. For this specific...
There's no appeal to aspirants to contribute to this Congress.
You are not aware of any appeal to...
Nobody up to me or to any aspirant that I'm aware of.
Not by word or by writing?
Not in writing, not by word, not in a meeting that
Nothing.
I am aware of.
Okay.
But we are all contributing to the party. Anytime you see those meetings that you saw, we are contributing to the party. We are contributing ideas to the party. We are contributing inspiration to the party. We are contributing organization to the party. We are telling the soul of the party. We
will take a short break, Doc. And when we come back, there seems to be some sort of compromise. I read to you what has been agreed. I'll find out from these 2 aspirants whether this is enough. We understand there's a major meeting tomorrow. It's been rumored that meeting is a crunch meeting to decide the way forward. Whether these dates and amounts will hold. My guest, Sylvester Mensah, aspirant for NDC flag bearership, Spio-Garbrah, aspirant for NDC flag bearership. Don't go away.
Receiving money from abroad with MoneyGram is now as easy as our bank alert. Now you can receive money from your loved ones abroad in minutes, anytime, 24/7, directly into your bank account. Let's show you how. Tell your loved ones to send you money online or from a MoneyGram location and give them your bank account details. Your money is then transferred in minutes and you can receive your money straight into your account. Your money is available to you anytime, rain or shine, in just minutes. Available in select banks in Ghana. For more information, visit www.moneygram.com.gh. MoneyGram, bringing you closer.
Watch out for 12 days of Giftmas on City TV. This Christmas, City TV is looking for well-deserved heroes to celebrate. You know, those people who live amongst us who are dedicated to making life a little more bearable for others. Do you know anyone whose love for their community and selfless actions are making an impact in health, education, community development, and other areas? Nominate them today and tell us why they deserve to be celebrated. Send an email to promo@omnimediagh.com or WhatsApp 0550-585832. Log on to citynewsroom.com for more details. It's 12 days of Giftmas on City TV. This is for the heroes who have not been celebrated enough. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. So we have 2 aspirants to the NDC flag bearership, Spio-Garbrah, former many things, trade minister, education, and Sylvester Mensah, who is also former a lot of things, including most recently NHI's chief executive. Both want to lead the NDC. Both signed a statement appealing to the Council of Elders to intervene in what they considered exorbitant 400,000 Ghana cedis filing fee. Gentlemen, the FEC, Action on Behalf of NEC and upon advice of Council of Elders, has reviewed the guidelines, amended the fee to 300,000 for men, 150 for women, 100,000 for disabled. Given 1 week more for the election from 19 to 26th, how does this come to you?
Well, I think that I have a lot of confidence in the party. I have a lot of confidence in our Council of Elders, and I'm not surprised at all that the council has convened this meeting to discuss the challenge. We have processes for redress in our party, and our system works. That is one thing that places us apart from the other political parties. These are proposals from the Council of Elders, and the NEC, or the party for that matter, has the final authority to determine whether they accept the Council of Elders' position or recommendations. But again, there's another meeting which tells you that the processes have not ended. The key stakeholders, flag bearer hopefuls, just as we have with the Electoral Commission, where IPAC convenes with all the key stakeholders, political parties, to discuss processes, modalities, and what have you. I guess that process is what is going to happen tomorrow, and we'll all have an input into the discussions. I'm not sure.
So the process is not over?
It's not over.
So, and if there's a meeting tomorrow, I guess both of you will argue for further downward review?
Yeah, it's not a meeting where we are going to be told that take this or leave it. It's going to be an engagement. We are going to discuss. I mean, we are all responsible adults in this party.
So all the flag bearers will be there?
All aspirants will be there, and perhaps the discussions that ensued today would be reviewed, and our input would be sought. And I think it's a welcome.
So let me get a sense. Let me get a sense. You would prefer a more reasonable filing fee, and you'd expect a more, how shall I say, a timetable which gives you a bit more time to campaign. You prefer a shifting of the date, I don't know what to call it, forward or...
Yeah, I think that operating the whole process of picking of nominations and elections within 45 days is woefully inadequate. If you add 1 week, you just move it to about 52 days. It is woefully inadequate. Let us not forget that, yes, the party asked all potential aspirants to declare their intent. That process is not known to our party constitution. And so it was an ad hoc arrangement due to the limited time we had, and also the fact that we needed to go to Congress to review the dates and a host of others. And so that process is certainly not on the table. It is not known to our party constitution. What is known to the party constitution and what we are operating now is the day the NEC met and when they fixed for filing of nomination. From that period, 52 days that we may have now as looking at the current recommendations, there is no time frame for campaign. One would have expected that a minimum of 6 weeks would be provided for all aspirants to conclude their campaign. Mind you, the period where aspirants were asked to declare their intent, we had over 12 or 13. And so the dynamics for campaign was completely different. Besides,
so you have more ground to cover.
Exactly.
When you go somewhere to come and undo what you just want to do.
Not only that, national executives were campaigning, regional executives were campaigning,
fatigue.
And so those listening to you were simply tired. You need time for flag bearer aspirants to speak on.
Will that not be a drain on your resources? Will the extended time not be a drain on your resources? It means you have more ground to cover.
No, we are asking for extended time. I mean,
it means you have the resources.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it is not too much about resources. You know, this campaign is not too much about resources.
Right.
It's about the ability to meet our delegates and share our vision with them.
So I'm guessing tomorrow you I largely agree with what he's saying. If they ask your view tomorrow in the meeting?
Well, I'm not going to negotiate with the Council of Elders or the NEC on this show, but certainly we will express our views. My main interest really is a rational justification for how the figures were arrived at. If we can understand the basis for which the figures were arrived at, then fine. For example, when the figures were 400,000, the original figure proposed by the NEC, our understanding from the General Secretary of our own party was that it was benchmarked against a presumed 500,000 of the NPP. The NPP then came out and said, no, gentlemen, you've made a mistake. Our figure actually is 75,000 for a flag bearer with 10,000 nomination fee. With that revelation, if that was the benchmark, then it would have required an immediate downward spiral of that 400,000 to something closer to 100,000. That's one benchmark to use. Number two, in 2016, the candidate for the NDC was a sitting president with all the powers and trappings of that office, and was asked to pay 100,000 cedis. That's 2016. 2 years later, whether you use consumer price index, use inflation, use any other parameter of price increases, how do you justify the increase from 100,000 to anything much higher than that? Because we are angry about the NPP increasing prices in Ghana.
Yes.
It's a major problem for the average consumer that petrol prices have gone up, so many consumer prices have gone up, the cost of importing goods at the ports is up, the Ghana Union of Trade Associations are complaining, most Ghanaian husbands and housewives are complaining about the cost of living. So why do we add to inflation? You know that amount is inflationary. Anytime you ask something to go up from 100 cedis to 400 cedis, 400% increase, you are adding to inflation by that. And we should be concerned as a party that wants to come into power and to become the government of the day, to start setting an example and to show the Ghanaian people what we would do if we became a government. But if within our own party, we put inflationary issues aside, pricing issues aside, and start charging fees in some arbitrary manner without any reference to any particular parameter, it becomes a problem.
What about the period for the campaign?
Well, I think Sly has made sufficient comment about that. So, but as I said, our understanding was that a previous group took 6 weeks to go around to collect nomination forms or signatures, and our group, in the earlier scenario, was being asked to do it in 10 days. I haven't heard what the new timetable is for bringing back your nomination forms and also paying your filing fees. That's a very important, critical point where the 300,000 is expected, because if it's coming before Christmas, that takes away all Christmas celebrations.
You have to be working. I'm going to read a few comments for you, but I just wanted to find out from you. So you were so you seemed united, 9 of you. You all signed the statement, except I think Mr. Alabi. But then in the course of the week, 3 or 4 of you somehow got the forms, and then the others didn't. Did you not betray the cause?
No,
because you all signed and said this process was not the right way to go. And then I heard that Sly's people had gone for the form for him, Bagwin's people had gone for the form, our 2 biggest guys had gone for the form, and then you leave Spio and Guzi and Co. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I can understand the anxiety amongst our supporters. I heard of a team from the Odododio constituency that claimed they had gathered 20,000, they were going to pick the forms for me. Initially, I took it as a joke, and then I heard my own constituency saying that they had mobilized the money and that they were going to pick the forms for me. And then I heard another group from the Volta region. They attempted to hand over some huge sum of money to me, which I felt very uncomfortable with, and so I did not receive it. I got to Accra. During all this, I was out of Accra. I was campaigning in the Volta region. And then I get to Accra the day, the second losing of, I started getting calls. You are going to pick back to you. The next moment, I had a call. I hear you've gone to pick your nomination form. I said, I haven't picked any form. Then I get another call. We went there to pick from Odododio. We went there to pick a form for you. We are told that Dade Kotopon had come to pick a form for you. Then the next moment, I heard there was a crowd in my house waiting for me. I was in town.
So you say you were a victim in the
I drove home just to find a large crowd from Odododio, from Dade Kotopon.
But that's the tail wagging the dog now. If you are the leader,
if they had given the chance to Makola women, they would have gone and picked that form for him.
You know, but
you didn't have any such. You didn't have any such trouble.
I mean, people may want to pick forms for you, but if they know that you are resolute You are not doing it yourself.
So yours was a question of principle.
It was certainly a matter of principle. We had signed a document. We're sticking with it.
Wow.
And it was important for the Council of Elders and the National Executive Committee to appreciate the fact that this is what we want to do and this is what we are doing.
Because this could have sabotaged the process.
It could.
Because if the Council of Elders says, if half of the guys who have signed have gone for the form, it means they are ceding to the process that they've claimed they agree with.
Well, no, you must understand that first it began with a group of people, because I had said on my campaign rounds that I don't have the money to pick the forms. We are relying on the Council of Elders and the party to review this, and I'm not going to pick a form. I'm not going to file under this circumstance. You know, and so I think that the anxiety began from there. That is he not going to pick the form? Is he going to pick it? I guess that is what happened. I can sympathize with them, you know, but eventually I met them.
But what signal does this send?
But let me add that I'm committed to the petition. I signed that petition, and I believe in every single statement of that petition. I never went to the party headquarters to pick any form, and I have said it publicly that I was not going, and reflected in the petition, I am not picking the form. And so this issue would have to be looked at from different dimensions. We must also understand the anxieties of our people on the ground. It happened to Bagbing, and I heard him saying that he had rejected the forms and that they should take the forms away. And I've heard from other people. Would you say that that was... I think we need to understand it from the perspective of our supporters and admirers.
Yes,
what this may imply is that to refine the rules, the party may want to put in place a mechanism whereby anybody who is picking up the form for a candidate, that's in future situations, may need a mandate letter from the applicant or the aspirant saying, I'm hereby mandating Kojo Mensah to pick a form for me. So people can't just pick all over the place and say...
Here are some comments for you. Hello, Bernard. Good evening. I still think 300,000 cedis is a big amount. But let all 13 aspirants do their best to raise the money so we can witness a good contest. This is coming from Collins in Taifa. Sly would have been a perfect running mate for JM. I don't understand why he's wasting his time in a race he knows he won't win. It's Ismail. The NDC primaries is January 26. In January 26 as a clear winner. But we need all the aspirants to come support JM against the incompetent MPP. Bernard, so is it that individuals in Ghana have 400,000 in their bank account to give out for free, so they should not get to be flag bearer? Can't it be invested into the youth? Kwame from Isawam. Good evening, Bernard. I think Mahama should step down because God has finished with him. And this is what his supporters do not realize. Dennis Brown, Kufredia. Good evening. Bernard, if Mr. Sylvester, Mensah and Dr. Spio can't pay the filing fee, then they absolutely don't have the locus to galvanize finances for the NDC if they are elected as flag bearers. Good evening, Bernard. My greetings to Sly and Dr. Spio. Please, I want to know if Sly's appointment during Mahama's era was by Mahama himself or the party structure. And if it's by Mahama, was it right? It's like a trick question. Frederick Kuma in Wase Kropon. The NDC is now a confused political organization. Their National Executive Committee is going down as the most incompetent one NDC had ever has. Fixing a filing fee of 400,000 is just unacceptable. It's a ploy to stop people from contesting Mahama. Good evening, Bernard. Why are Spio and Sly and others refusing to visit Brong Ahafo, especially Kintampo? Mubarak, Deputy Youth Organizer, Kintampo North, is inviting you. Good evening, Bernard. Sly and Spio are fine gentlemen of NDC, and I see Sly being a running mate to Spio in 2024, and if not 2020. Razak from Tantra Hills. Am I onto something here? Did I get a combination by choosing Spio and Sly and Spio?
Well, I mean,
Spio and Sly.
That's a conjecture, and you are free to conjecture.
No, but you've worked together before.
Oh yes, why not? We have worked together.
And there's no tension in this. I've had people on stage and there's tension. There's no tension here. There seems to be a lot of camaraderie here.
But the truth is that there's no tension, for me, there's no tension between me and any other aspirant.
Really?
I don't see this as a struggle. I don't see this as a fight. I see this as an opportunity for all of us, as it were. There's a vacant position of a flag bearer for the NDC. All those who aspire to take that position are out there in the field selling their message, telling the people why they should vote for them, telling them why they shouldn't vote for other people, and it is fair play. Tell them why they shouldn't vote for my good friend and why they should vote for me. It's not just about why they should vote for me. And so it's fair.
Actually, I don't get to say anything about why they shouldn't vote for you.
But I've never mentioned your name on any platform. I'm just talking about the principle, you know.
I just tell them why it is Spio's time. And I tell them, if somebody asks you what time it is, you don't tell them it's almost 9:50. You say it's Spio's time. And it's a very nice slogan that is catching fire around the country.
Yeah, but what I want to say is that it is fair play to say that vote for me, don't vote for him. It is.
Let me take a shot. I'm with Spio Sly. Who knows? It may be president and vice one day. So I'll take an autograph from them before the show ends. Don't go away.
Watch out for 12 Days of Givmas on City TV. This Christmas, City TV is looking for well-deserved heroes to celebrate. You know, those people who live amongst us who are dedicated to making life a little more bearable for others. Do you know anyone whose love for their community and selfless actions are making an impact in health, education, community development, and other areas? Nominate them today and tell us why they deserve to be celebrated. Send an email to promo@omnimediagh.com or WhatsApp 0550-585832. Log on to citynewsroom.com for more details. It's 12 Days of Givmas on City TV. This is for the heroes who have not been celebrated enough. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. My guest, Spio-Garbrah and Sylvester Mensah, two aspirants who have been very busy campaigning throughout the country, have lots of meetings this week. There's a new development in the NDC. Gentlemen, do you feel that you may have to, how do I put it? It seems like there are 8 or 9 of you against a formidable incumbent who, I was at the Congress, I saw how he came in. President Mahama is, I mean, if you are president 2 years ago, you are still very influential. Do you not think by being this many, you are dissipating your forces and that you need to start talking about unifying if you really want to beat him?
I don't think the objective is to beat a particular person. I think each of us...
But he's a front runner.
That's okay. I mean, all incumbents all over the world begin as front runners, and as others go around and engage with the delegates, whoever it is, the person's votes start dropping. Because for every vote that he gets, those votes, you see, in 2016, all of us voted for one candidate. We all supported President Mahama. He was the candidate of the NDC. But almost 1 million people didn't vote. So when we started with 100% support, on the day of the election, we had only about 80% of NDC voting. From that day, the vote of whoever the flag bearer was or is, it will start coming down as candidates keep coming into the race. So personally, I don't see it as a race between us and one particular person. It's a race between my ideas and the thinking of the delegates. That's my point. I have to go there and convert their mind from wherever their minds are towards me. So,
but it's generally those who want continuity versus those who want change.
That's also
so the continuity people
position.
Will vote for one. The change people have Spio, they have Sly, they have Guzi, they have Bagbing, they have whoever. So you are going to essentially make it easier based on arithmetic for him to win. Well, if you don't start uniting.
And it doesn't follow that logic. If politics were to follow logic, when you put a product on the market and the market rejects the product, you wouldn't bring the product back onto the market. But in politics, logic is usually set aside. Emotions and sentiments and several other factors play roles in judgment, preferences, and decisions. And so that may not necessarily follow. I believe that the system as it is now requires that anyone who wants to win this race should have the opportunity to engage the delegates across the country. And that is primarily why some of us believe that some little more time would have been more useful. And because we still have a few grounds to cover. the time has been too short. And it's not about money. It's about the ability to engage across the country. The engagements are going on quite well, and wherever I have been to, I'm not sure any other aspirant can recover. And I believe that given, and I know he thinks the same, he also believes the same, and that is why we are all
So when are you going to Brong-Ahafo? Because the Brong-Ahafo guy is asking both of you to come.
We'll do it.
Yeah, I've been to just a small section of the Brong-Ahafo region, and I'll be going back to the...
So you don't have Christmas to chop, you'll be campaigning throughout Christmas?
Just about.
Well,
every day.
And then let me let you go, so you don't get too tired. Thank you. Sylvester Mensah, thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure.
Dr. Spio-Garbrah.
I think we've helped prove a point for the Ghanaian society, as well the youth, to know that when you see something going wrong, please have the courage to do something about it. Don't give up, don't be afraid, don't be intimidated, because all kinds of forces...
And we put Spios there. He needs money. Star 713, star 9867, star amount. It does too much. Donate to all networks.
Phone numbers. All the 713 is always standard.
Okay, so it's star 9867 star.
9867, people should worry
amount.
The newspapers, is in the graphic.
So you are doing crowdsourcing.
But
you are not doing some slides.
50 CDs, 20 CDs, 1,000
Oh, no, I
CDs.
am. I mean, I am.
You are raising money.
I am. Mine is rather... well, I am. Let me just put it that way.
I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the program, and we'll be following the NDC story closely.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you very much for watching The Point of View. Stay with City TV. Good night.
The Point of View is sponsored by MoneyGram, bringing you closer.